Alhamdulillah, wassalatu wassalamu rasulillah, wa ala alihi wa ashabihi, wa man tabi'ahum bil ihsanin ila yawmiddin, amma ba'd. So today, inshallah ta'ala, we'll continue with our lesson, Al-Tadhkira fi Ulum al-Hadith, where we're discussing the book of Ibn Malakin rahimahullah that covers matters relating to Mustalahat al-Hadith. So in the last lesson, we had covered concerning what the author discussed regarding matters regarding Al-Musahaf, which is At-Tashif, and also we discuss Al-Mukhtalif al-Hadith, those hadith that seems to contradict, and how to go about rectifying and those matters. So today, inshallah ta'ala, we'll continue by where we have left off, and the author rahimullah, he discussed again several other types of Anwa' Ulum al-Hadith, another set of categories of hadith, and the one that you mentioned today, that he mentioned, Al-Musa'sal wal-Itibar wa Shawahid wa Mata'ba'at. So we'll be discussing concerning what he covers regarding these matters. So the first of those matters that are covered, he mentioned wal-Musa'sala wal-Musa'sala وهو ما تتابع رجال إسنادي على صفة أو حال قل فيه الصحيح. So that's what he discussed concerning the next type of hadith, which is al-Musa'sal. Then he defined it as, he mentioned here, هو ما تتابع رجال سنده, where the men of the narrators of the hadith, that they all follow each other in a particular sifat, description, or hal, or situation, قل فيه الصحيح, and also there's not many that is mentioned regarding this that is authentic, or mentioned many that are reported that are authentic. So that inshallah ta'ala we'll discuss concerning al-Musa'sal regarding other matters that are discussed in this particular topic regarding al-Musa'sal, to make the matter more clear regarding what is involved and what is mentioned regarding this particular type of hadith. So in starting concerning al-Musa'sal, so it is mentioned al-Musa'sal, where he mentioned tasalsal, that they mention huwa lugatan, what is meant by this, ittisal ashay bi shay. So ittisal ashay bi shay. So al-Musa'sal is where something, it is linked to something, or mentioned concerning, so it is something which is connected, or they're linked to each other, something which is linked or connected with each other. And they mentioned, for example, concerning that a chain, so a necklace, because of the way they're linked together, then this is a form of Musa'sal. Then regarding concerning this matter, regarding al-Musa'sal, that they discuss concerning al-istilahan in the ulama al-hadith, what is meant by al-Musa'sal with the ulama of hadith. So it is mentioned here regarding several definitions that are given, but from what the author rahimullah had mentioned, Ibn Malakin, where the definition that is taken regarding huwa tataba rijal isnad al-hadith, where the narrators that they follow each others in the hadith, ala sifatin aw halin, in a particular description or hal, in a particular way, لرواية تارة, that sometimes relates to riwayah, the narration, وتارة الروات, and at times the narrators. So this is concerning what is defined or what is said regarding hadith al-Musa'sal. You have other definitions that are given, but this is of the more simpler and in line with the author rahimahullah had mentioned. هو تتابع الرجال الحديث, where each of the narrators of the rijal, that they all follow each other in the hadith, in how they may describe or they may mention the hadith or the situation, the circumstance of the hadith. So that's concerning al-Musa'sal. So that's concerning, so what is meant regarding that, you'll find concerning ittifaq al-rawat, or al-rijal, or rawat al-hadith, or sanad al-hadith, we'll find that there's a ittifaq, an agreement or consistency by way of the narrators of the hadith in narrating hadith in a specific way, or certain things that are done in a specific way that relates to the hadith. And that is what is called al-Musa'sal. So each person doing a particular act, or saying a particular thing, or in a specific situation, all following each other when they narrate this particular hadith. So this is what is said to be al-Musa'sal. So each following each other in the way in which they narrate the hadith, or the circumstance behind the hadith, or things that is done or said. That is al-Musa'sal. So as for concerning al-Musa'sal, the next matter that is discussed concerning anwa' hadith al-Musa'sal, and also given example. So regarding hadith al-Musa'sal, which is concerning that they mention here regarding that, it falls into different categories. It falls into anwa' different categories regarding hadith al-musalsal. So of those different types, that sometimes relates to the rawat, the narrators, and also it relates to other matters. So regarding concerning al-rawat, al-hadith, regarding their different circumstance that we might find, one, regarding al-musalsal and the different types. One, first amongst them concerning al-musalsal, bi-ahwal al-rawat, qawliya. So concerning al-musalsal, where all the narrators somewhat are consistent in certain things that are said. That they are consistent in certain things that are said. So as an example of this, regarding the consistency regarding what they say regarding this, while narrating the hadith, they mention concerning the hadith that is narrated by أخرجه أبو نعيم مسلسلة في كتابه الحلية, where he mentioned hadith أنه عليه السلام قال للمعاذ, where the Prophet عليه السلام, that he said to Mu'adh وتعالى عنه, يا معاذ إني أحبك فقل في دبر كل صلاة. So the Prophet in the midst of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he mentioned regarding al-Mu'adh, يا معاذ إني أحبك, that I love you. فقل في دبر كل صلاة, and you should say at the end of each of your salat, اللهم أعني على ذكرك وشكرك وحسن عبادك al-hadith. So they mentioned regarding this particular hadith that it comes in a form of musalsal. We find that every narrator in the isnad, that they all agree upon saying a particular wording, and that wording is, each of them when they will narrate the hadith from the other, they will say inni uhibbuk, that I love you. So each of them, while narrating this hadith, that they'll all say to each other inni uhibbuk, that I love you. So the one each of them saying this to the other, and that become al-musalsal. So musalsal, by way of each narrator saying inni uhibbuk, that I love you, I love you, I love you, to each other. And again, the hadith in Abu Dawood, but it is not per se al-musalsal in completely. So that's concerning this particular hadith. That is an example regarding al-musalsal qawliya, where all the narrators, that they are consistent in saying a particular wording, which is inni uhibbuk, that I love you. A second type of musalsal that they mention regarding al-ruwat fi sifat fi'liya, regarding concerning that they all agree regarding a particular action that they will do while narrating the hadith, that links to the hadith. So after this, they mention concerning the hadith of Abu Hurairah anhu, قال شبك بيدي Abu Qasim, where he mentioned that the Messenger of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that he intertwined between his finger. وقال خلق الله الأرض يوم السبت, that he alayhi salam mentioned a hadith, خلق الله الأرض, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created the earth يوم السبت, on a Saturday. So that's concerning this particular hadith that they mentioned here regarding concerning that this hadith that is mentioned as an example regarding al-musalsal, that they mentioned that he alayhi salam, that he shabbaka biyadei, that he would intertwine his fingers when he narrated this particular hadith. So everyone who narrate the hadith, that they will do the same thing, they will intertwine between their fingers. So that's concerning this particular hadith. This hadith is narrated by Al-Hakim in his book Ma'rifat Ulum al-Hadith, wa inda Muslim, and also the hadith is with Imam Muslim, but it is not musalsal. But with Hakim, it comes with each narrator doing this act of, they'll intertwine between their fingers while they narrate a hadith. A third type of musalsal that I mentioned, اتفاق الرواد في ستة في القولية والفعلية معا, that each of the narrators, when they narrate a hadith, that they'll all agree upon doing the same act and also saying the same thing. So they all agree upon a certain statement and also a certain act. So the hadith that they mentioned as the example, the hadith of Anas bin Malik رضي الله عنه, قال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم لا يجد عبد حلاوة الإيمان حتى يؤمن بالقدر خيره وشره حلوه ومره. So al-hadith. So they mentioned وقبل رسول الله السلام على لحيته وقال آمنت بالله آمنت بالقدر al-hadith. So they mentioned that alayhi salam, that when he narrated this particular hadith, when he said this hadith, لا يجد عبد حلاوة الإيمان, that the servant will not taste the beauty of Iman, the taste of Iman, حتى يؤمن بالقدر, until he believes in qadr, خيره وشره, until he believes in the good and the bad of al-qadr. Then he mentioned that when he mentioned the hadith that he alayhi salam, that he'll all to his beard, all to his beard call, amantu bil qadr khayrihi wa sharri, that I believe in qadr is good and is bad. So he alayhi salam would, when he mentioned the hadith, he did this act. And also two things, L to his beard, and second he would say, amantu billah. And then also he said, amantu bil qadr, I believe in qadr. So all the narrators, they will do both those two things when they narrate this hadith, L to their beard, and also say, amantu bil qadr. So that's concerning al-Musa'sal, regarding by way of speech and also by way of action. This also hadith is akhrajahu al-Hakim fi Ma'rifat al-Ulum al-Hadith. Also this hadith is narrated by al-Hakim in his book Ma'rifatu Ulum al-Hadith. And he mentioned the hadith Musa'sal. That's concerning that particular matter. Also, you might find concerning al-Musa'sal another type concerning by way of awsaf al-Ruwat. By way of awsaf al-Ruwat, regarding concerning certain characteristics that are particular to the narrators. So they mentioned regarding al-Musa'sal, by way of that you might find concerning that characteristics that are particular to all the narrators, or common to all the narrators, or consistent with all the narrators. Of these you might find out at times that all the narrators could be people who are fuqaha, or they could be of people of a particular, from a particular region, all from Asham, all Ashamiyin. So all the narrators, that they are all from the same region. Or you might find that all of them might be from a particular city, Damashqiyun. So you might find that al-Musa'sal also may come in a form where all the narrators are, they are of a particular characteristics, which is concerning that either they're from a particular region, or they may be per se from a particular city, or at times could be they all have a certain name. Muhammad, all of them names Muhammad ibn whatever, Fulan. So all of them that they say they share they all share common the name Muhammad. So that's concerning of the way, and other things regarding al-Musa'sal. So another way is regarding all the narrators maybe share something which is common between all. Also another type of Musa'sal or example regarding as-sifat al-ruwat, riwayah, regarding concerning as-sifat al-riwayah. Of this that they mention regarding that with al-riwayah, by way of the narration of hadith, how it is narrated. So you might find concerning al-Musa'sal where all the narrators that they mention a particular way in which they narrate their hadith. So by way of narration. So by way of as-sigha, they use a particular terminologies regarding concerning that all of them might say, sami'tu fulan, sami'tu fulan. So all of them are directly from the person behind. And when they narrated the hadith, they mention that same word, sami'tu or akhbarana. So all of them mention akhbarana from the start through to the end. Or they said, sami'tu. We all heard from this person. So these are concerning al-Musa'sal bisifatir riwayah, by way of how the hadith is narrated, a description of how the hadith is narrated. So that's concerning al-Musa'sal. Also al-Musa'sal by way of zaman. So al-Musa'sal biz-zaman, where the hadith is concerned that it was narrated of a particular timing. So might relate to a particular zaman, which is time, Musa'sal, regarding that they mentioned that as concerning that Yawmul Sabt, Yawmul Eid. So regarding Tahammul, Yawmul Eid, that all the narrators received the hadith Yawmul Eid. All of the hadith was narrated on Yawmul Eid by all the narrators. So that will become the common thing with all the narrators. They heard the hadith on Yawmul Eid. Or regarding that they did a particular act on a particular day. Qas al-adfar Yawmul Khamis. That all of them clipped or trimmed their nails, their fingernails on Yawmul Khamis, on a Thursday. So these are things that are a common theme, which all of them did it in a particular timing, or a particular zaman, with a particular time. Then also you might have al-Musa'sal muta'alliq bil-makan. Also you might find al-Musa'sal a continuous practice with all that was done in a particular place. So you have from this concerning al-Musa'sal bid-du'a fi multazim. So we're concerned al-multazim. Al-multazim is the area where all of them, the narrators that mentioned of the thing that they all share in common, that they mention in their narration, that they mention, they supplicated, made their dua at the place called al-multazim, which is between the black stone and the bab of the Kaaba. So at the Kaaba, they all mention hadith at a particular place at the Kaaba. So that's concerning where they make this supplication. So it's dua fi multazim. So that's concerning this al-Musa'sal being done at a particular place. Being done, carried out at a particular place. So that's concerning the different types of Musa'sal. Different types, anwa al-Musa'sal. That you have concerned, them ulama mentioned concerning aqsam tasalsul. Aqsam tasalsul. So yanqasim, regarding that, either they mention concerning at-tam, which is one which is complete, or one which is naqis, which is one which is tam, which is one which is, and at-tam, tasalsul, at-tam, meaning concerning the one which is a complete musalsil, meaning that all the narrators from the beginning of the hadith through to the end, that they all mentioned or did that thing that was common with all. So regarding that particular act or description or wording, that it was common with all the narrators from the start of the hadith through to the end. Everyone mentioned of that thing. So it's something which is common with all. So as we call al-musalsal at-tam. It's a complete. Then the second type, qism al-thani, is tasalsul al-naqis. Tasalsul al-naqis, which is one which is deficient. It is incomplete. By way of concerning that, there's a degree of the tasalsul that everything is linked, but it is one which is incomplete. It is incomplete and not complete. So you might find that several of the narrators, they all share this thing. All of them was named Muhammad, or 3 of the 5 were called Muhammad, but not all 5. So that is one which is naqis. This one is naqis because it is not complete. We'll find that of those narrators, 3 of them of the 5, that their name was Muhammad ibn Fulan, and all of them have the same name of Muhammad ibn such and such. Or you find that majority, 3 of the 5, that they were from Basra, but the others was from somewhere else. So because of 3 are from Basra, then that's a tasalsul naqis. So that's concerning that matter, that all the ulama also divide concerning al-musalsal by way of tasalsul, whether being a tam, complete, from start through to the end, all did the same thing, or it is of their similarities, or tasalsul, which is naqis, with the similarities with the narrators, it is for a portion of the hadith, not the entire hadith. Also regarding this matter, the ulama rahimahullah, they discuss concerning at-tasalsul, that al-fahida wuqu' at-tasalsul, of the benefit that come with tasalsul, or tasalsul fil hadith. So what's the benefit that can be gained by hadith being narrated tasalsul? So from this they mention that a few things that occur concerning that. Also it can show concerning dalala, is concerning that a proof, some form of evidence and proof regarding al-mazidat al-dabt, that regarding concerning that, showing that there was more preciseness regarding the hadith. Because of this consistency from all the narrators, or most of the narrators, so a level, an increased level of preciseness in how they narrate the hadith. Also, so it was concerning that at times regarding that taqwit al-isnad, a way to strengthen the isnad of the hadith because of this consistency. Also it shows al-iqtida bin Nabi al-Islam, also that those narrators also, that they were very key regarding following the example of the Prophet of Islam regarding what he did when he narrated the hadith. So they also want to share this and follow the Prophet of Islam as what he did when he narrated the hadith. So a level of concern al-iqtida bin Nabi al-Islam regarding this particular narration, and also regarding it also can so much, also al-aman, a level of concern that the person have confidence regarding min wuqu' at-tashif. So having confidence regarding, or that it being protected from falling into tashif, where errors occur because of tasalsul. So these are of the things regarding at-tasalsul, regarding hadith, where some of these are the benefit that can be derived from it. And also show concerning that Ittisal al-Isnad. It shows also strengthened regarding Ittisal al-Isnad, that because of At-Tasalsul. So it's concerning with Tadlis. So it shows that each kind of somewhat share a similarity regarding their narration. So it comes with these benefits. Also the next matter regarding At-Tasalsul is regarding Hukum Ahadith Musalsala. Hukum Hadith Musalsala. So the hukum regarding hadith that are grading as Musalsala. As the author mentioned, قَلَّ فِيهِ الصَّحِيح. That you might find that many of hadith on this topic, they may be da'if. Many of the hadith from the author, what he mentioned that, or indicated that many of the hadith that relates to this of having tasalsul, that it sometimes they are classed or classified as hadith which is weak. So I mentioned regarding that in broad rulings in general, that ulama rahimahullah of hadith, that I mentioned that ahadith al-musalsal, that they at times are sahih, and at times they are hasan, and all times they will fall into daif. So I find they fall into those three categories. At times they are sahih, so it is based upon that it fulfilled the requirement of a hadith as sahih, but also it has with it tasalsul, but it still also fulfill the criteria of hadith sahih. So it is acceptable. Then also it may forfeit those criteria of hadith sahih. So it is classified as da'if. So those concerning hadith al-musalsal, that there at times may fall concerning the hukum, the grading, it may be classed as sahih if it fulfills the other criteria of sahih. Hasan, if it fulfills the criteria of hadith al-hasan, with tasalsul, and also may be classed as hadith da'if if it forfeit the condition of hadith al-maqbul. Then also you have Ibn Hajar rahimullah and others mention that you have certain amount of content asah musalsal yarwi fi ad-dunya musalsal bi qira surat al-saf. So you have one that they consider to be the most authentic, which is qira surat al-saf, as mentioned. Then we now discuss concerning of those matters regarding hadith at-tasalsul or musalsal, that concerning tasanif, books on this particular topic. So books that have been written on this particular topic. You have many books. Of those books you have Kitab al-Musalsal al-Kubra or Musalsalat al-Kubra lis-Suyuti. So Suyuti rahimullah, he has several books on this topic. Of those books, al-Musalsalat al-Kubra wal-Jiyad al-Musalsalat, both by al-Suyuti rahimullah, who died 911. He died the year 911 al-Hijri. That's concerning Jalaluddin as-Suyuti. Jalaluddin as-Suyuti, who have many books also in the field of hadith and in general. Also another of those books that is written concerning Manahil Salsala fi Ahadith. Manahil al-Salsala fi Ahadith. And this concerning Ahadith al-Musalsala, this is by Abdul Baqi ibn Ali Ayyubi. Abdul Baqi ibn Ali al-Ayyubi, and he died 1364 al-Hijri. 1364 al-Hijri. And also another book in that topic is a book called Ujala fi Ahadith Musalsala. Ujala fi Ahadith al-Musalsala. And this book is by Muhammad Yasin Muhammad Fadani. Muhammad Yasin Muhammad Fadani, who died 1410. 1410 al-Hijri. And also others who have written on this topic. So of them also Ad-Dahlawi, so Shah Wali Allah Ad-Dahlawi, that he wrote a book, Al-Fasl Al-Mubin fi Musalsala min Ahadith al-Nabi al-Amin alayhi salam. So he wrote this book, Al-Fasl al-Mubin fi Musalsala min Hadith al-Nabi al-Amin sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, which is by we mentioned concerning Shah Wali Allah Ad-Dahlawi. And one of the ulama of Hind, he died 1111 1111 76, 1176, the year 1000. So that's concerning of those who have written on this particular topic. So this of the anwa' of the beauty of ilm al-hadith. Or these are concerning of those things that the ulama of hadith, of the fawahid that links to hadith. So they mentioned concerning al-Musa'sal regarding those matters that relates to al-fawahid al-hadithiyya. Then at the next matter that we'll discuss according to the author rahimullah, that he mentioned wal-Itibar, وهو أن يروي حماد ibn Salama مثلا حديثا لا يتابع عليه عن أيوب عن ابن سيرين عن أبي هريرة رضي الله عنه. Then he mentioned والمتابعة أن يروي عن أيوب غير حماد وهي المتابعة التام. والشاهد وهو أن يروى حديث آخر بمعناه. So that's concerning the author rahimahullah. We'll discuss now another topic regarding ilm al-hadith. So regarding another of those anwa, of those different types of hadith, which is he discussed concerning those hadith, he mentioned three types that they are somewhat linked together. So these three types concerning al-Itibar, al-Mutabi' wal-Shawahid or Shahid. So these three that they are linked together. And we'll explain regarding these types of hadith. So regarding concerning this matter, he started concerning Marf al-Itibar wal-Mutabi'at wal-Shawahid. So discussing concerning the topic regarding al-Mutabi'at wal-Itibar. So he mentioned regarding At-Timithi concerning al-Itibar, huwa an yarwi Hamad ibn Salama. So it is a narrated, an example, which is an yarwi Hamad ibn Salama. So Hamad ibn Salama, مثلا hadithan, that he narrates a hadith, la yutaba alayh, no one else shared a hadith with him. An Ayub, and he narrates Hamad ibn Salama an Ayub and Ibn Sirin and Abu Hurairah anhu. So that's concerned that particular hadith. So Hamad bin Tarid, then he mentioned وتابع أن يرويه an Ayub غير Hamad. So you find that someone else other have narrated on Ayub other than Hamad, وهي متابعة التام, and it is a mutabi which is complete. وشاهد وهو أن يروى حديث آخر بمعناه, and a shahid is to narrate a hadith from someone else with similar meaning. So that's concerning the matter that he discussed regarding al-Itibar, al-Mutabi'ah, wa-Shawahid, or Shahid. So inshallah ta'ala, we're going to somewhat discuss this further and give some more clarity. So as he mentioned regarding these three particular types of hadith, or classification of hadith, then he meant which are al-Itibar, Mutabi'ah, wa-Shawahid, or Shahid. So as for those concerning, started first with concerning, so I mentioned that these three are somewhat, they're linked together. These three are somewhat, they're intertwined with each other. So regarding concerning that, so we have Itibar, Mutabat, wa Shawahid. So as for Al-Itibar, lugatan, Al-Itibar, I'tabar, bimana, I'tibar, An-Nazar fil umur, wa Tadabbur. So regarding concerning Al-Itibar, the meaning linguistically, Tadabbur wa Nazar fil umur, is a person investigating and looking into something. So a person researching or investigating and pondering over a matter. So that's concerning the meaning of itibar linguistically. Well, itibar istilahan in the ulama al-hadith, they use this term al-itibar. So al-itibar bimana تتبع طرق الحديث الفرد ليعرف هل شارك الراوي غيره في روايته أم لا. So what is meant by al-itibar, that various way to describe it, what is the act that it is mentioned as تتبع الطرق الحديث, is the person trying to research and look into different طرق, different chains of the hadith. Hadith al-fard, that is a single narration. ليعرف هل شارك الراوي, to see if others agree with the narrator, that single narrator, or that's not the case. So that what is meant by itibar is the person researching to find out, is there others who may have shared that narration with that particular narrator. So to find other hadith, to see if others have coincide with that narrator regarding his narration of that particular hadith. So that's concerning in brief what is said to be al-itibar. So this word is used regarding that the ulama of hadith rahimahullah, that they use this term as the word al-Itibar, regarding concerning يعرفون بها حال الحديث, is trying to know the hal, the state of the hadith, of a particular hadith. هل تفرد به الراوي, to see if this narrator is a single narrator or there's others who coincide with him on that narration. So that's concerning. So the act of investigating to see if there's others who have narrated something similar with this narrator or this hadith, then this is the act that is called Al-Itibar, which is the person doing the research. So the act of doing the research relating to that hadith, then this is called Al-Itibar. So Ibn Hajar rahimahullah and غيره, that they mention concerning Al-Itibar, Al-Amal is the act نفسه الذي يقوم به Al-Bahith. So it's the act of the person doing the research to find out other sources of this hadith, to find other sources, narration of this particular hadith in front of them. So that's concerning Al-Itibar. So Itibar is the act of researching the hadith to find other sources of that hadith by way of others who may have narrated that hadith from other companions or from other narrators of the hadith, of the isnad. As for shawahid or shahid that he mentioned, it is a shahid, shahida, yashhad. That's concerning what is a shahid. So regarding concerning a shahid, adda ma indahu min ash-shahada aw khabar, is the person somewhat so the person concerning shahid is the person giving what he as being a witness to something, the person being a witness and passing on that to others. That's concerning shahid. So being a witness to something, which is at times yuqawwi, to strengthen that matter. الشاهد اصطلاحا عند علماء الحديث, they mention هو الحديث الذي يشارك فيه راوه أو راويه راويا آخر عن الصحابي آخر. So what is meant by a shahid in simplicity is to find, to see hadith if there's others who have narrated the hadith other than that particular narrator on a particular sahabi. So to see regarding, are there others in the other chains that are there that coincide with that narrator on that same sahabi. So to see, are there other isnad that are similar to the one in front of us, to act as a witness to strengthen that hadith, meaning that it comes with other isnad. That is other isnad that relates to that particular hadith. Other isnad that relates to that particular isnad. By way of the isnad, the matan being of similar meaning, but the isnad, they're a little bit different. So you have difference in the isnad, but it acts as a witness to the one that we are looking at. So in another word regarding a shahid is to see if there's other isnad related to a particular hadith that comes from a particular sahabi. So an example, Mara'u Abdullah ibn Abbas marfuhan fi hadith ru'yat al-hilal. So regarding concerning hadith that we have concerning Abdullah ibn Abbas, that he narrated hadith marfu'an upon the Messenger of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala regarding ru'yat al-hilal, regarding the sighting of the moon, the hilal, regarding Ramadan. So that hadith, you have different narrations, and so it's to see regarding concerning a shahid, are there other companions who have narrated the hadith? So they mention regarding concerning that other companions who that I mentioned here, that hadith that you find that Abdullah ibn Abbas narrated the hadith, rata'ala anhuma, but also you'll find others who have narrated the hadith from other companions, and that becomes a shahid. So a shahid is to see, are there other companions who narrate the hadith along with that companion? So the companion here that narrated the hadith is Ibn Abbas. But we also find a hadith that relates to the sighting of the moon. Also is narrated by Ibn Umar, that becomes a shahid to that hadith. So you find that, so another companions who narrate the similar hadith, then that becomes a shahid. And also we find that Abu Hurairah anhu also narrated a hadith. So you find that Shahid is we find that a particular hadith that have a certain isnad, we'll find it comes with another isnad, but on another companion. That is said to be a Shahid. And also some refer to that as Mutabi'ah. But more common practice is that is referred to as a Shahid. So, and Mutabi'ah is when you find that a hadith, it has the same companion with the same meaning, but you find that with a different isnad. That also referred to as Mutabi'ah, but also sometimes referred to as a Shahid. So, you find amongst the Salaf, rahimahullah, of a general practice that they saw Shahid or Mutabi'ah as being the same. So both words mean the same thing. With a hadith, at times, it may be narrated by a different companion, the same hadith, narrated by a different companion that is said to be Shahid or Mutabi'ah. But the common practice today it is used as a Shahid. We find a different companions of a narrated the same a similar hadith in meaning. So the similarities in meaning, but difference in the companion. That is said to be Shahid. But the same hadith come with a different isnad from other narrators, then it is said to be Mutabi'ah. But with the Salaf, those words are interchangeable. Those words are interchangeable. So, in brief, concerning that of those who they discuss concerning those three terms, Al-Itibar is the person who does the work of finding out if there's different shawahid and mutabat, that whether this hadith, it have other chains that can be found relating to it, or there's other isnad that also can be researched relating to that similar hadith. So for example, hadith, as we mentioned here regarding concerning the hadith of the sighting of the moon. So the hadith we have different isnad. So that concerns a person who research the different isnad relating to that hadith. And this is said to be the person who have done Al-Itibar, doing the research of finding out the different sources of that hadith. So that is called Al-Itibar. And the sources that you will find, that either find different isnad, that is called Al-Mutabi'at, and or you find different narrators of the Sahaba, and that is called Shawa'id. And that is the act, and that's concerned the relationship between those three. So that's concerning that particular matter regarding Al-Mutabi'at, Shawahid, what Itibar. Itibar, in summary, Al-Itibar is the act where the person go to research further on the hadith to see whether he can find different narrations from other companion of the similar hadith or different isnad of that same hadith. So as we mentioned, so that's concerned the act of mutaba' wa shawahid, and that is called doing that research. That is said to be al-ittibar. The research act of doing the research is said to be ittibar. The different sources that the person use or ways is by looking at different isnad. That is called mutabat, or trying to find different companions, sahabi who have narrated the hadith, and those are said to be shawahid. So that's concerning the matter related to this binillah tabaraka ta'ala. So that's concerning this particular matter regarding these type of hadith. So that concerning the practical act of finding out different isnad and shawahid narrated from the Sahaba. This is said to be al-itibar and that research. So with that, inshallah ta'ala, we'll end for today regarding what have been mentioned, and we'll continue regarding what remains and what come after, which is زيادة الثقات ومزيد في متصل الإسناد. وبالله تعالى توفيق وهذه إلى سبيل والآخر دعوانا الحمد لله. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.